ahead. Live streamed. Not yet. Setting up your meeting. And we are live.
All right.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Georgia.
Hi. Thank you for joining. This meeting is being live streamed. So, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for yet another pelvic floor, all things women's sexuality related. This evening, our topic is going to be hips don't lie, and I love it. By the way, I love that Shakira song. Hips don't lie. I felt it was the perfect topic because there's still much understanding to occur for where women are concerned and the function of our pelvis and all that is related to our pelvic. And we have none other than Iveda here. I call her my pelvic floor specialist. Any questions, any issues you have regarding the pelvic region, this is your girl. So I will let Iveda tell you specifically the myriad of things that she involves herself with, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you for your kind words, Georgia. Thank you for the nice
intro. You are my pelvic floor specialist.
Oh, great. Yeah, and I spent so much time on it, and I talked to a lot of people, and it just came up that how we think of our bodies, and specifically our pelvic floors, but it's relevant for everything, for sexuality as well, is how we are sort of stuck in a, like, my knee hurts, and so I'm gonna go to the knee doctor, I'm gonna look at my knee. It just doesn't work that way. So I'm gonna explain today how the hips impact the pelvic floor. And so before that, I just want to do one housekeeping thing. Georgia, I forgot like how to copy this live. So I just copy this live into, because we have Facebook groups, and we have our friends in our Facebook group who would like to watch. What is the name of your Facebook group again?
I will go ahead and share it there.
Oh yeah, I see the live in the invite. So whoever has the invite can see us live. And who doesn't, I'm just gonna go into EBSCOR pelvic floor group. If this works, just for a second. Yeah, okay. Good. So today, hips don't lie, and full credit goes to my mentor, Sarah Duval. That's what for the song "Hips Don't Lie," because I was reviewing her materials, and she used this phrase, and I think it's so perfect. So I've been talking to a couple of ladies, some of my clients, about pelvic floor, and everybody's like, yeah, but the urethra and like the bladder, and I'm like, you know what, time out. Let's look at just one piece of our body, which is the hips, but it's still a bigger part of the body than just the bladder and then just the urethra. So I just want everyone to remind that everything in your body impacts your bladder. Let's put it that way, something more, something less. And the hips impact our bladder health quite a lot. So this is how our hips look like. And I used caliper tape to represent certain muscles. So the green are adductors. The blue is from the back. It's deep hip rotators, so like the small muscles in your butt. Someone's familiar with like piriformis, that's sort of one of those muscles. And the black one is the most important. It's the pelvic floor. It doesn't mean there's just one piece of muscle. There's several muscles. It's just that this tape represents those muscles. And I would like to ask like our viewers if they have any pelvic floor issues. if they had someone look at their hips, because our hips work like this. They impact how our muscles work, like all the bones here. So when I do this to our hips, because the pelvis, the innominates, these big flat bones, there is some movement in here. This is the sacrum. There is some little movement here. It's not just stiff, right? It's a joint, like this is called the SI joint, sacroiliac joint. Or if you have like hip pain, it's usually like referred to this area. There's movement there. Little, but very important movement. And this movement, when I open the hips, look what happens to the black tape, pelvic floor. Like close, open. Not sure if you can see it.
Oh, yes, I definitely can.
I open, it loosens up. There's a lot of slack in the pelvic floor. I close.
Oh, wow.
There's tension. Open,
Yeah.
slack, tension.
Oh, wow.
So very typical if you were ever pregnant, if you ever had kids, whether you gave birth or not, vaginally or C-section, doesn't matter. When we are pregnant, typically for women, our hips can open like this to give space for the baby and give us stability. So this opening provides for a very stable posture, because we're gonna be carry the heavy baby, right? It's not, we cannot move a lot, but it's very stable. But that has some disadvantage, that it gives a lot of slack to the pelvic floor. And if we don't do any rehab after being pregnant, which we don't do because it's just not done, right? We just assume our bodies will somehow miraculously snap back. We can get stuck in this position. Let's say like you were not pregnant. It's fine. Like you were fine and you're hitting your 50s and something's going on with your pelvic floor, like your bladder. You don't even have to be pregnant. Getting stuck in this position is very common for like distance runners, for example, because this movement is very like forward. There's not this outlet, like this is called external rotation, gives us a lot of stability. So for example, also heavy builders, like you lifting heavy weights, they need a lot of stability. Let's imagine, for example, like soccer players who need to move from side to side. This is usually not their problem. So
so it's anything that we have to bear down, really.
Yeah, it just can whatever, for life happens. We could be carrying a lot of weight, or standing on one leg. There's a lot of things that happen in the body, and there could be just one hip stuck in this position or both hips. Okay, so there's a lot of reasons. Pregnancy is the most common for women, but there's many reasons why we can get stuck. It could be an injury or something. We got pain. This could be a reason why our body encompasses we're stuck in this way. Okay. And so let's look at what it does with the pelvic floor. So one more thing, you see this opening is kind of closed, right? So this is internal rotation, and there's a nice tension, the good tension that we want in the pelvic floor. And when it's open, there's a lot of slack. And there's the opening here, the bottom closes. It's closed off, there's less space. Okay, there's less space. A lot of space up here means less space in the bottom. It's always whatever's happening here, the opposite is happening in the bottom. So less space on the top means more space in the bottom. And we actually want more space in the bottom because my adductors fell off. When the pelvic floor is in this loosened position, it cannot contract. The bones are too close, and it's not in a good position for a good contraction. Okay. So when you're doing Kegels and your hips are stuck in this position, you can do all the Kegels you want.
Okay.
See, that is the point. You can do all
Yes.
the Kegels, or you can do all the pelvic floor contractions. You won't be able, because your muscles are just in a length, in a bad position for length and tension, that they just can't really contract. So if you feel like you're doing Kegels and it's like so much work, and you're like, ooh, it's like, have this feeling like, what am I doing? I can't even feel. This could be the reason, right?
Okay.
And the other reason is the bony part, like they close together. Everything is then kind of smooshed here, right? So you have less space for your bladder. You have less space for the uterus, everything, the urethra. There's much more pressure down. Everything is kind of smashed and squished here. And so that's is also the reason why or versus the prolapse, like you feel like there's something, like it's a lot of pressure down on the organs, and then you feel like, oh, something's hanging out, like something's fallen out. This is the reason. When I'm talking about, then you want to have a healthy sex life, like this, it's gonna impact totally your down there, and that's just like one position of the bones, right? So what can we do about what can we do
So
about
how do I know if I have this problem, or how can I find out? Like, because like you said, I could be sitting here doing 1,000 Kegels a day and I'm not seeing any improvement in my pelvic issues. So
Right.
how do I find out if this is my problem?
So if your hips are stuck, there's a good evaluation. Like I could see, like a physical therapist can evaluate, put your hands on. There's one way to do it. Or my evaluation is done via movement. So I'll give you a set of exercises, and based on how you move, I would see what is the case.
Are you gonna just evaluate me next time we see each other?
Always.
So let me know if my hips are out of order, please.
Oh yeah. Well, I can just see you walk, how people like squat down, lean forward. And there's a couple of exercises we will do in like a couple of minutes. They will show you like, okay, this is an area you should work on. But basically, if you have any pelvic floor dysfunction, prolapse, urgency, heaviness, stress, urge incontinence, you want to have someone to look at this. You will definitely want to consider it, because that would explain, for example, why your pelvic floor is tight. Because if your muscles are loose, it's not intuitive, but your brain will be like, oh, well, that's too loose. I need to tighten.
Yeah.
So one of the response actually could be that your pelvic floor muscles are tight because they're constantly trying to grip and lift up. Okay. So one of the things that you can do when we can check or how to put these bones a little bit more internally rotated. And if you do any of these exercises and you feel a little better, that's your like, aha, maybe I should be doing this. Maybe one of my hips or both hips are stuck more into this internal rotation. Okay. So how can we make this internal rotation up here? We would always start with some abdominal work, because you have this transversus abdominis that is, it's kind of sits the lower part, right? The lower part sits kind of here above your pubic bone. So if you want to check yourself, I'm gonna show, you're gonna do a triangle with your hands, your thumbs are touching, and your fingers doing a triangle, and your fingers gonna touch your pubic bone. And your thumbs are just below your belly button.
Let me see if I could do this. Okay.
That's kind of your lower transversus abdominis area. And when this muscle is contracted, it pulls the bones together. This innominates the pelvic bones. It pulls it together. So doing transversus abdominis exercises helps close it together just with the muscles. Okay.
Mhm.
The other thing is working on your adductors.
Oh.
And that is one reason when I see a video of someone doing like working on your glutes with a band around your knees, I'm like, lady, you don't know what you're talking about, or you're healthy and you're a 20-year-old. But anyone with like kids and 40 plus, pushing the band apart, you want to really make sure that you have no deep hip rotator tightness, you have no pelvic floor dysfunction, and you know what you're doing, because what these bands are doing, we want to do the opposite. We want to do the adductors. We want to squeeze something instead of pulling something apart, because most people when they pull something apart, they just squeeze with the deep hip rotators, and those are kind of muscles here in the back on your sacrum, and so they're under your big butt, under the big glute max. Okay, and when they contract and when they're tight, or when you have your external rotation stuck like this, they shorten. When your hips are stuck in the open position, they shorten. And you can see that, for example, when look at people at the airport or somewhere when you're in a supermarket, who is standing with their feet out. See, when you see or catch yourself, if you're standing with your feet out instead of parallel, your butt is following suit, and it's doing this. So it's squeezing. If you're sort of squeezing your butt, but not in a good way, and not the big muscle, the glute max that you want to have for a round butt. It's the deep hip rotators who kind of start gripping, and also turning your feet out. So if you are the person who does this glute clenching, you'll end up with your hips spread apart, less space down there, loose pelvic floor. Okay, so that's another reason how you can develop this. And so I'm gonna just demonstrate. I'm gonna stand up to see how you can recognize that on your buttocks. So I'm not sure if you can see my feet.
I can see you. Yep.
But basically, anyone standing like this or walking like this, or when you catch yourself, you're standing in a line in Disney or anywhere, and you're standing like this, then it has this effect on your butt and then on your pelvic floor and your bladder. This is an external rotation. So my butt, see, you will see kind of like this divot.
Yes.
And you can see people when they stand like this, they don't do anything. They already have this butt kind of clenched. I can see that this is the deep hip rotators are gripping. They're short, and then they get short, right? And so it's very difficult then to have the feet back parallel, because these muscles don't allow it, and they turn the feet out. You can also notice that like when you see like the kneecaps, which way are they facing? They're facing out. That's also how you can recognize on yourself, on other people. And or anyone who has this flat butt or no butt, and can also like hanging on their hips. This is total tightness. These people have a tight pelvic floor, and tight pelvic floor means weak pelvic floor at the same time. And so when these muscles, the blue ones, deep hip rotators, when they're tight, they open the hips like that, and they get bulky. Muscles get bulky, and they push everything inside more forward. And there's more pressure on the bladder. There's less space for the bladder when it fills with urine to expand. And so then you have to go every 10 minutes. And these muscles are tight. And so they connect to your true pelvic floor muscles. And so that creates tightness, and tightness demonstrates as a UTI, pain with penetration, with sex, uncomfortable sex, constipation, pain with passing stool or difficulty passing urine, just like you have to feel like you're not emptying all the way. You have to push, and everything's like a lot of effort, and it's this burning and the pressure and the heaviness. So it's all connected with how your hips are. And it's very, in your pelvic floor is absolutely and totally innocent. It's doing what it can, it's totally and absolutely healthy. Right? So that is the reason why Kegels don't work. And for example, I was very curious when I learned this. Like when your hips are open like this happens when you're lying on our backs. We always, when we lie on the floor on our back, our hips open like this automatically.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it closes off the bottom.
Yeah.
And so what happens? What do you do? Like every woman who has kids have, you know, in the hospital.
They put you on your back, but it's actually, as a maternal nurse, women, in my experience, women who push from a squatting position, like, you know how our old time people used to poop, they'll squat and poop. That's the best way to deliver a baby, because laying on your back, it doesn't work. It's not as effective, and it causes so much damage to the pelvic region, just like you're explaining. And I've actually seen where some women do get stuck in that externally rotated position, depending on how long they've been pushing, how long. Some women, we have to do crazy things. We hold one leg here and one leg here to get this thing done. And I've seen damage just from that.
Exactly. And that is the reason why giving birth on the back. One of the reasons, probably. One of the reasons.
Oh.
Hold on, I have to let out my cat. Sorry. So squats are a very good example. I'm so glad that you said it. So let's see how the squat, like giving birth on squat or doing squats, are actually very good, because when you do a squat, it closes off and there's more space at the bottom. So that is the reason why giving birth squatting works, because this is what's happening with the bones, hip bones. So but if you have tight hip rotators, you will not be able to squat as you should, because these muscles will be tight, and they will not allow you to go as deep. I'm gonna demonstrate. But I start with the adductors, and I kind of got sidetracked. So one very easy and effective way of putting this all back together and internally closing the hips is squeezing something, not with the band pushing something apart. It's squeezing something. So when we found our lower abs, if you had something that you can squeeze, like a pillow, it could be also a couple of books, rolled up towel, anything, the wider the better. And you're going to inhale, and with the exhalation, you're gonna squeeze, turn your adductors on. Your feet are parallel, so not like this. Feet are parallel. You keep squeezing, you keep feeling your thighs, and then feel with the exhalation your lower abs. You should feel your lower abs kicking in. Okay. If you don't feel your abs kicking in on the squeeze, then there's something we should also look at, because this really impacts your pelvic floor. And so having strong adductors helps this closing off, and it helps to bring your abdominals on. It helps to activate them, and they all kind of scoop everything up, like in and up, not down. So, and this gives the pelvic floor or the bladder relief. Okay, so you can be just sitting in your office, just squeeze something, inhale into your back and sides, exhale, keep squeezing, engage your lower abdominals, the triangle ones below the belly button. And then on the consecutive inhale, you keep your abs tight.
Yeah.
and
Okay.
expand your back. Don't lose the ab control. Don't lose
Mhm.
the ab control. You can do this in the office, you can do this anywhere. You want to feel tight abs then on every inhale and exhale all the time. And when you keep your abs tight and when your lower abs are working and active, then you should feel more expansion in your back and side. So like the air goes and really blows your rib cage open, like blowing into a balloon.
Mhm.
And this is very important because if your rib cage is tight, you cannot expand. On the inhalation, when there's a forceful exhale, like the sneeze, the blowing the
Mhm.
nose, the laughing, even simple speaking, shouting, walking, running, jumping, anything like that, and you have to get a big inhale and exhale, and the rib cage cannot expand, the air must go somewhere, and it will all go down. Okay, so, and that is the reason why you will leak, because there's a narrower space. Okay, so there's many factors, as you can see. There's narrow space, all the air, the pressure, the forceful exhale of the it all goes down, and now your hips are stuck in an external rotation, and your pelvic floor is loosey-goosey and squishy, and it should contract with the forceful exhale, but it can't.
Yeah.
Because it's too close here, it's all messed up.
Yeah.
Your deep hip rotators are squishing everything forward, so there's less space, and all this creates all this big, huge mess and bladder discomfort. And then you're like, I don't have any libido. I don't want to have, sex with my
Yes,
partner.
so that was my question. How does this impact our sexual wellness? But as you're talking, I'm like, oh, if everything is just kind of down there, I feel like am I going to constantly feel like there's pressure, and that should feel uncomfortable, and I don't know that I will be in any kind of mood to have sex.
Exactly, but it's easily fixable.
Okay.
And
Oh,
so everything, it comes down to the breathing, and core. I would say, like, very, very simply put, right?
Evada, that's the exercise nobody wants to do. Core.
Yes. Yeah, core and breathing, because it's so boring. I want to put my leggings on. I want to go to the gym. I want to look.
I want to run and I want to lift
Yeah.
weights, and which of course those things are important as well. But I really think we need to have full understanding of the softer exercises, right? When I speak of yoga, I often get the response, I don't know, I need more than yoga. I need more than yoga. I'm
Yeah.
like, no, you need yoga. You need breathing, stretching, and reaching your pelvic parts.
Right. And so what I liked on yoga, for example, because they move the body in very different directions. Okay.
Mhm.
And one of the things that you can do at home or in the gym, I'm going to demonstrate now. So we're going to look at the hips now. We saw that one abdominal exercise was squeezing something and I'm going to go back. I know I'm nerding out with the anatomy now, but when you squeeze something and your legs are not moving, okay, so you can work your adductors by doing this, all those. This is an active movement, but I'm talking about not moving the leg out, just squeezing. When my legs are stable, fixated. So these are the legs. And I'm squeezing something, some I'm contracting the adductors. Then they contract and they pull this open. And you have the nice tension and pelvic floor that we want. And that is why I recommend for all women with kids, unless they're super fit and have absolutely zero issues. First, you start with squeezing. You squeeze things. You work your adductors and you squeeze things. Okay. And then only then, obviously, I'll have a program that will be focused on, but we will get there when we put the band on our knees and we do something until I teach everyone like how to do it, but ditch the band. If you have any pelvic floor discomfort, you ditch the band and you squeeze everything between your legs. They're standing, squatting. I'm gonna show, because it's gonna create this nice opening that we want. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So adductors are very important for your bladder health. Okay. So what can you do? And you can do this in the kitchen. I think these are very good exercises, like the squats. And I'm not on camera on purpose, so you can see basically just my lower part. When you squat down, so basically when you be squatting, you want to put something between your knees, and we'll be squatting like this. Okay. And when you're leaning forward and you're unloading the dishwasher, you have something between your knees, and you have that, and you don't need to squeeze much, but just feeling something under your knees, and your brain will be like, oh, I don't want it to fall down. So we will squeeze a little, and that's just fine to turn the system on.
Mm-hmm.
And you may feel already like, oh, this is activating. It automatically activates your lower abs, and especially if you have like problems with finding your transverses when doing exercises, squeezing something helps. It helps activate the core. Okay. So you can do squats, squeezing something, but this is tricky because your deep hip rotators, if they're tight, people who have tight hip rotators, they kind of like will go here, and you see them sort of tucking and rounding. Okay. Or they be like fine until a certain point on a squat, and then they start to lean forward excessively. Because when this is tight, the thigh bone cannot go back and just cannot open. So for a healthy pelvic floor, I'm going to show you my butt. You want a lot of space here. Okay. you want a lot of space. So how do I know when I work with someone online that they have this tightness in the back? They're going to show me their butt, and they're going to feel for the sits bones. And the space between the sits bones, I will see on camera, should be the same. Okay. Like I can, in fingers, right? And if they feel like on one sits bone, they can squeeze only 2 fingers, on the other side, all of them, then this side with only 2 fingers is short. And so what happens very frequently is that there's some sort of imbalance in the hips. One side is all fine. The other one is tighter. The other one is looser. And that prevents the pelvic floor from working properly. And there will be one side, just like pulling, the other one loose. Anyway, you will be leaking, and you will have your prolapse will feel worse because just one side is wrong.
Question, Iveta. Selena in the group is asking, are you referring to hip flexor exercises to improve bladder control?
Okay. Hip flexor, no. The answer is no, because I'm talking hip flexors are in the front. So as TFL, they're in the front. I'm talking about deep hip rotators. They're here in your butt. Piriformis, obturator, internus, externus, gemellus, whatever. But no, not hip flexors. Okay. These are in the front. They play also a big role in the pelvic floor health, yes, but not today. I can cover them next time.
Okay.
Because it's for another, like the mechanics. But it's also very good. You see like how all that impacts pelvic floor. So our viewers know, no, it's not just down here. It's everything everywhere. So you can try with me an exercise. It could be a test, or it could be an exercise. You can see if how your hips are behaving. Okay. And this comes from yoga. And if you know this warrior, warrior, this is also a single leg deadlift. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hip hinge, single leg hip hinge. So in this exercise, I'm gonna come closer. What happens frequently, I see, is it's very difficult for people to have their hips facing forward. What they do is, okay, when you do yoga and you're on one leg, even if it's like this all the split, what are they called, trikonasana or something, or I think it's the crescent pose. Your hips should be facing forward. If your hips are open, that tells me there's gripping here. You can even try like you're standing on one leg. This shortens, okay, and creates all this tightness. So you want to try closing this other hip and do the internal rotation. So can you close the hip? You are in the warrior number 3. You can lift your leg, you don't have to. You can just maybe have a tripod and do this. You can have something you can lean on and just close your hips. Now, what are your abs doing? They should be supporting your spine. Don't let them go, okay? Don't let them go, like, don't arch. Active, right? No hip thrusting. And feel this lengthening. This should feel long. If you feel pulling here, that's good. It's opening. We want a lot of openness here. So that's my favorite exercise. You can do anywhere. Unloading dishwasher, okay? Just make sure you're not opening. Everyone can do this external rotation. That's really easy, but now you want to do the closing. And you want to do it with your hips, not with your torso.
Not the rest of your body, yeah.
Not the rest of your body.
Ooh.
So it's very simple. Obviously there's more, but you can try this out and see how this feels. You want to feel opening here, right? Everything for opening the butt is good. This is awesome.
I like that.
This is actually a vibration, but you need a vibration type. But this would work for tightness because of the deep hip rotators. It will not help to close the bones off, the external rotation. It just for sort of sitting on it. I can demonstrate. And getting into your piriformis, your deep hip rotators, and just testing.
Somehow I feel like I need that right now as I look at you.
And what do you think? I am like, oh, I'm gonna need 30 minutes for rolling. No, I watch TV, talk to my son, talk to my husband, and I do this, right? You can also sit on it this way, sits bone here, and you can slide on one side and sort of pull away the flesh from the butt to create the space and the lengthening. You may want to start with something really soft. This is really hard.
Yeah, because I can hardly sit on a bike because the seat is so hard.
Yeah, it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it also, if you have tight pelvic floor, that's even gonna be even more uncomfortable. So it kind of says already that there's some tightness here. So you want to lean forward and you're gonna feel your butt, everything here, everything around your butt. It's gonna help the pelvic floor. And you're gonna feel even like if you have tension when you while lying down, like while sleeping. Do this before going to bed. Side lining is really good. Side lying is really good. So you lie down and this automatically squeezes one side. So just hanging out side lying. So how many times in the past weeks were you just lying on the floor? how many times in the past week or two did you just lie down on the floor?
Every day.
You
Because
do?
I have to, yes.
Good.
Because of
Why?
my back.
Oh,
It's
exactly,
like,
right?
yeah.
I do too because of my back. There are some people who just rarely like lying on the floor is something novel for their body.
Oh
So
no, I
lie down
have
on the
to.
floor. If you can't lie in the bed, and yes, and side lying is like good. So, but it has to be on something harder surface than just the bed. So it
Mm-hmm,
squeezes the hips a little bit.
mm-hmm.
And there are obviously exercises where you do side lying and then you squeeze something.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are, I'm not gonna go into details, but basically side lying and you're squeezing something and doing it with the breath. Right. I don't know if you have time, if you have 10 minutes. Just on a side note, when you inhale, with every inhale, this opens a little bit, and with every exhale, this closes a little bit. Okay. This is the natural how our bodies work. And so that's why we do everything with the inhale and exhale. And it's important to do it a certain movement on inhale and certain different movement on exhale because of what happens in the body or should happen. Now, let's say your hips are really stuck in this external rotation. This is closed off and you're breathing. It's not working. Your breathing is not working. It's getting stuck. And your pelvic floor is really loosey-goosey all the time. And then your brain says like, whatever. I mean, I don't know what this is because I lost the connection to these muscles. And so that's why it's really difficult to do Kegels, do them correctly.
Yeah, I could
Or
see
you
that.
feel like, oh, like it's so impossible because your brain cannot find the connection because you lost the breathing pattern is not working, right? There's no natural ebb and flow. This should happen with your every inhale and exhale. Long story short, when you have any issues down here, look beyond that.
Iveta, do you have videos like this? How can we access this kind of exercising? Because I'm pretty sure there are lots of women out there who would want to do these exercises or hear some of these tips. Because I like that dishwasher stuff while you're in the kitchen. Those are easy, and
Yeah,
I feel
excuses.
like you need to have these are 5 things you could do while you're in the kitchen. So it doesn't become work, because that's why we stay away from things so much, because we feel like, oh God, that's another thing for me to do. I don't have time. And so I feel like this is perfect because you've blended this into things we're already doing anyway. So if I'm washing dishes, if I'm cooking, if I'm watching TV, I could be sitting on that green roller thing that you showed me. So I think if you don't already have this kind of a video, oh, I think you need it.
So for starters, you should, or everyone should, when I go into my Facebook group, perhaps core pelvic floor, they should sign up for my pelvic floor playbook. It's a set of 7 videos that will go into your inbox. And there are 2 exercises for the abs, basically what I was explaining with lower abs and squeezing stuff and breathing and inhaling and exhaling. These are exercises you have to do on the floor. So you kind of have to set aside for them because you're going to have to focus. Then I'll have an upcoming program that I will launch in 2 weeks where I have all the core connected with this. And then there will be a bonus section for hips. So all these warriors and standing things.
Yes.
The basics, obviously, because there can be a lot. It's gonna be there. So when you sign up for the pelvic floor playbook, There'll be a link, and I can post
Is
it
is
also under this.
abs core pelvic floor just one word, no space, or do we space it?
I think there's space. It's spaces so people can recognize the words
Okay.
when they call me. Yeah. And there's in the pelvic floor playbook, and I can post the links as well. There's a link to the wait list. You can sign up for that, and just so you're notified when the program comes. It's gonna be in 2 weeks latest. A 1 month program with all these really foundational moves. These are just total basics. So if you know, if something that I said and you was like, wow, and you never heard of it, it's it's good news, because there is a lot of potential for you. And if you try this, you'll have higher chances that you feel much better. You'll improve something, your overactive bossy bladder, your heaviness, your
Your
prolapse,
bossy bladder.
because the bladders are bossy. It can be bossy.
Yes.
Even me, before this call, I went like, oh, I need to go. Like, went upstairs and oh, I need to go again. But it was just the nerves. I knew, and I
Yes.
do have some tightness because I'm exercising, and I know with this nerves, it's just it's I'm not.
And once we irritate those nerves, it's so hard to turn them off. So
Yes, we have to really down regulate.
yes.
By the way, this foam rolling down regulates. And so that's why I highly recommend it. Yeah. So, but I didn't freak out about my urgency, because I know it's just because of this call. I had to get prepared. But a lot of women totally freak out, like, I have to go again and again, and I feel this feeling, and this thought that comes into your head, just this pink, it creates it makes everything so much worse, because it creates this nervousness, this anxiety, like anger, and it's in there, and we hold tension in the pelvic floor, upper traps, jaws, upper abs, and pelvic floor, like, are very common areas of holding tension. And if you hold tension in the pelvic floor, it's just gonna make everything so much worse.
But we're tight people. The minute you say to someone, relax, breathe, you can see it, they do.
Yeah.
And so what were you holding? What were we holding before? It's almost as if it's the natural default position, which it shouldn't be. But it seems like we exist this way, just clenched. We exist in such a clenched form. And I know this has to create some damage just to our internal organs.
Exactly. And the thing is, it's very sneaky. Who has time? Like, it's very difficult to be so mindful and in your body.
Yeah. Because life takes over, and the job, and the kids, and the spouses, and everything else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is just a fraction on all this stuff. There's much more.
This has been great though. Like, just this amount of information will make me get up and go test how I'm standing and get on the floor. And I feel like I'm going to be squeezing things all over my house.
As you should be. And it's like, you don't have to, like, finding a good physio is really difficult, and you have to go places, then you go home, and then it's like you forgot, and you just do it differently. You can totally, a trained eye can totally spot the movement over a Zoom call. So if people send me their videos, which they can, if they download the pelvic power playbook, there's kind of like a gift, and they can send me. You don't even have to download it. But if you're watching this, even in the replay, do a squat, single leg deadlift, or a warrior in yoga. Put it on the video and put it in my abs, core, pelvic floor incontinence diastasis Facebook group, and I can give you feedback on that.
See, abs, core, pelvic floor. Why do I always miss incontinence?
You don't have to. I think it comes up
Okay.
with EBSCOR pelvic floor.
Okay.
And that's also my handle on Instagram, EBSCOR pelvic floor. But the giving feedback on the videos works better in a Facebook group rather than on, because it's also private, right? So nobody sees. That is the main
Love
point.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Iveta. This has been great. Very helpful for me, I know.
Well, thank you, Georgia, for
yes.
inviting this talk. And
Yes.
I guess we talk next month.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. And
All
thank
right.
you everyone
Good night,
for joining.
everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Feel free to ask questions, put it in the comments. We can read it later on and respond. Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.